I reject you as my Luna.
Ronan, you're breaking my heart. Who's there?
Someone who heard you crying. Where did you get that?
I've had it since birth.
Impossible. Stay away from my Luna. Your Luna? You rejected her.
Lucian, you need to leave with her, now.
Why?
Because she's the last Moonborn Queen.
Whatever happens, I won't let them take you.
Wait! They found her!
Who found me?
Aria, don't move. Moonborn, you finally returned.
The Alpha King rejected her in front of everyone. Then the Lycan King called her his mate. Aria Moonvale stood beneath the grand stone arches of the Moonvale Pack's ceremonial hall, surrounded by hundreds of wolves. Tonight was supposed to be the happiest night of her life. For 5 years, she had loved Alpha King Ronan Darkmoor. And tonight, she believed he would finally make her his Luna. She wore an elegant forest green gown with bronze embroidery, her shoulder-length black curls framing her face. Her hazel green eyes were filled with nervous excitement as she watched Ronan approach the ceremonial throne. The priest raised his voice. Alpha King Ronan Darkmoor, do you accept Aria Moonvale as your Luna? Silence. Aria smiled nervously. She waited. But Ronan didn't answer. Instead, he looked toward the entrance. Aria followed his gaze. Her smile disappeared. Celestia Ravencourt was walking toward them. The beautiful noblewoman wore a midnight purple gown, her long copper-red hair braided elegantly around her head. And Ronan was looking at her. Aria's heart began to race. Ronan! He finally turned toward her. I have made my decision. Aria's smile faded completely. What decision? Ronan's voice was cold. I will not make you my Luna. The hall erupted in whispers. Aria stared at him. You promised me. I know. You said I was your future. Ronan looked away. I was wrong. Her eyes filled with tears. Was loving me also a mistake? Ronan didn't answer. Instead, he walked toward Celestia and took her hand. Aria felt her heart crack. 5 years. 5 years of waiting for this man. And he had chosen someone else in front of everyone. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel, because what happens after this rejection will change Aria's life forever. Aria stepped closer to Ronan. You could have told me privately. I didn't owe you a ceremony. Her lips trembled. You owed me the truth. Ronan's expression hardened. Celestia is more suitable to stand beside me. Aria looked at Celestia, then back at Ronan. So that's it? Yes. Then Ronan reached for the pendant around Aria's neck. She instinctively stepped back. Don't. But he grabbed the chain. The antique bronze pendant her mother had left her slipped into his hand. Ronan pulled. The chain snapped. The pendant fell onto the stone floor. Aria stared at it. Her mother's pendant. Broken. Just like her heart. Ronan looked at her. Leave the royal residence tonight. Aria slowly bent down and picked up the pendant. Her fingers trembled. She looked at the man she had loved for 5 years. I hope she's everything you wanted. Then she walked away. No begging. No screaming. No turning back. The doors closed behind her. Only then did the tears begin to fall. Aria walked through the cold night, holding the broken pendant tightly in her palm. She didn't know where she was going. She only knew she couldn't stay. Eventually, she reached the forest. She collapsed beside a quiet stream and pressed the pendant against her chest. I'm sorry, Mama. Her voice broke. I really thought he loved me. She closed her eyes. Then a strange warmth spread beneath her collarbone. Aria gasped. She pulled back the neckline of her dress. A faint golden crescent was appearing beneath her skin. What is this? The mark pulsed. Once. Twice. Then it began glowing. Aria touched it. Suddenly, a deep growl came from behind her. She froze. Slowly, she turned. A man stepped from the darkness. Tall. Powerful. Intimidating. Aria immediately recognized him. Lucian Frostbane. The Lycan King. The most feared ruler in the supernatural world. His charcoal gray armor reflected the moonlight, while his amber eyes remained fixed on her. Aria quickly lowered her head. Your Majesty. Lucian didn't answer. He looked at the tears on her face. You shouldn't be alone. I'm fine. No. His voice was quiet. You're not. Aria looked away. I don't need pity. I'm not giving you pity. Then why are you here? Lucian didn't know how to answer. Because the moment he saw her leave the ceremony, something inside him had awakened. His wolf had spoken a word he had never heard before. Mate. Lucian had never believed in fated mates. But now every instinct inside him was screaming the same thing. She is ours. He stepped closer. Aria took a step backward. Where are you going? I don't know. Then come with me. She stared at him. Why? Lucian's expression softened. Because you shouldn't have to face tonight alone. Those words caught her off guard. Ronan had spent the evening making her feel unwanted. Yet this stranger was offering her protection without asking anything in return. Aria looked down. I don't understand you. Neither do I. For the first time that night, Aria almost smiled. Then the golden mark on her chest suddenly flared. She gasped. Lucian's expression changed. He recognized the symbol. Years ago, he had discovered it inside an ancient forbidden manuscript beneath the Lycan Palace. The mark belonged to a bloodline believed to have disappeared centuries ago. The Moonborn Queen. Lucian stared at Aria. Where did you get that mark? I don't know. Before he could say anything else, a howl echoed through the forest. Then another. Then dozens. Aria looked around nervously. What is happening? Lucian stepped in front of her. Stay behind me. A massive charcoal-gray wolf emerged between the trees. Its amber eyes glowed beneath the moonlight. Lucian immediately recognized it. Vargan. His Lycan. The enormous wolf approached Aria. Lucian expected him to stop. Instead, Vargan lowered his head before her. Lucian froze. His wolf had never bowed to anyone. Aria slowly reached out. Her fingers touched Vargan's fur. The golden mark exploded with light. Lucian's eyes widened. His wolf roared inside his mind. Our mate. Lucian stared at Aria. The woman Ronan had rejected only hours earlier was his fated mate. But the revelation was only the beginning. Because Lucian suddenly remembered the final words of the ancient prophecy. The Moonborn Queen would return only after being rejected by the man who was supposed to claim her. And when she awakened, every kingdom would either kneel before her or try to destroy her. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. Aria looked at Lucian. Your Majesty, why are you looking at me like that? Lucian looked toward the forest. His hand moved slowly toward his sword. Because I think someone else knows you're here. Aria's heart began racing. Then dozens of glowing eyes appeared between the trees. Lucian drew his sword. A cold voice echoed from the darkness. Find the Moonborn Queen. Aria stepped behind Lucian. He stood between her and the approaching figures. The Alpha King had rejected her because he believed she wasn't worthy of standing beside him. But he had made one terrible mistake. He had no idea that the woman he had just thrown away was the woman destined to change every kingdom. And now that the Lycan King had found her, the hunt for the Moonborn Queen had begun. The forest suddenly went silent. Aria stood behind Lucian, staring at the glowing eyes surrounding them. There were too many. Lucian tightened his grip on his sword. Stay close to me. Who are they? People who should never have found you. The first attacker stepped from the trees. He wore a black hood and carried a curved silver blade. Then another emerged. And another. Within seconds, more than a dozen masked warriors surrounded them. Aria's breathing quickened. One of them pointed directly at her. The Moonborn Queen must not survive. Aria froze. Queen. Lucian glanced at her. They know who you are. I don't even know who I am. The warriors suddenly charged. Lucian moved faster than Aria could see. His sword struck the first attacker's blade with a deafening clang. Vargan lunged at another warrior, knocking him into a tree. Aria backed away, terrified. Then one attacker broke through the line. He raised his silver blade toward her. Aria screamed. Before the weapon could reach her, Lucian appeared between them. The blade sliced across his armor. Lucian barely moved. His amber eyes suddenly began glowing. Touch her again. His voice dropped into a terrifying growl. And you die. The warriors stumbled backward. Lucian attacked. Within seconds, the man was on the ground. But another attacker came from behind. Aria saw him first. Lucian. Lucian turned. The silver blade was already coming toward him. Aria instinctively raised her hand. A burst of golden energy exploded from her body. The attacker was thrown several feet backward. Everything stopped. Even Lucian stared at her. Aria looked at her own hands in disbelief. I did that. The golden light slowly disappeared. Vargan approached her and stood beside her protectively. Lucian lowered his sword. Yes. Aria looked frightened. What is happening to me? Before Lucian could answer, the remaining attackers fled into the forest. One of them shouted, "Tell the Alpha King she's alive." Aria's heart stopped. Ronan. Lucian looked toward the darkness. He's going to come looking for you. Aria shook her head. He doesn't want me. Lucian turned toward he. Not anymore. She didn't understand. Lucian sheathed his sword. People like Ronan only realize the value of something after they lose it. Aria looked down. I don't care what he thinks. Lucian studied her face. You should. Why? Because if your enemies know about your bloodline, Ronan will eventually know too. Aria's expression changed. What happens then? Lucian didn't answer immediately. He looked at the glowing mark beneath her collarbone. Then you won't be safe anywhere. Aria swallowed. She looked toward the direction of the pack. For the first time since Ronan rejected her, she wondered what was happening back there. Would he even notice she was gone? Would Celestia be celebrating? Would anyone miss her? She hated herself for still caring. Lucian seemed to notice. You still love him? Aria looked up sharply. No. The answer came too quickly. Lucian raised an eyebrow. Aria looked away. I loved him. There was a difference. A painful one. Lucian nodded. Then leave him in the past. Aria looked at him. Is that what you would do? Lucian's expression darkened. I've had a long time to learn that some things are better left behind. She sensed the sadness in his voice but didn't press him. Instead, she looked at the forest. Where are you taking me? My kingdom. Aria's eyes widened. The Lycan Kingdom. Yes. I can't just walk into your kingdom. You can when you're my guest. She hesitated. Why are you helping me? Lucian looked directly into her eyes. Because I don't believe you were brought into my path by accident. Aria didn't know what to say. For the first time that night, she felt something other than heartbreak. Hope. Far away, inside the Moonvale Pax Palace, Ronan stood beside the ceremonial throne. The celebration had continued. Music played. Nobles congratulated him and Celestia. But Ronan wasn't listening. His eyes remained fixed on the doors. Celestia noticed. You've been distracted all evening. I'm fine. You rejected her. I know. Then why do you keep looking toward the door? Ronan didn't answer. Something felt wrong. He couldn't explain it. He had expected relief after choosing Celestia. Instead, he felt an unfamiliar emptiness. Then a warrior rushed into the hall. Your Majesty. Ronan turned. What is it? The warrior bowed. We found traces of an attack in the northern forest. Ronan's expression hardened. An attack? Yes. Who was attacked? The warrior hesitated. We don't know. Then another warrior entered. His face was pale. Alpha King. Ronan turned toward him. What? We found this near the forest. He held out a broken piece of bronze chain. Ronan immediately recognized it. Aria's pendant chain. His heart dropped. Where is she? No one answered. Ronan's eyes darkened. Find her. Celestia stepped forward. Why? Ronan looked at her. For the first time that night, there was fear in his eyes. Because something has happened. Meanwhile, Aria and Lucian continued through the forest. Neither of them noticed the shadow watching them from a distant ridge. A hooded figure lowered a magical communication stone. The Queen has awakened. A voice answered from the other side. And the Lycan King has found her. Yes. There was a long silence. Then the voice whispered. Then kill them both before they reach the Lycan Kingdom. The hooded figure smiled. But they had made one mistake. Lucian had already heard them. He stopped walking. Aria looked at him. What happened? Lucian slowly turned toward the ridge. His eyes began glowing amber. We're not alone. A shadow disappeared behind the trees. Lucian drew his sword. But this time, he wasn't looking at the forest. He was looking toward the kingdom behind them. Because whoever was hunting Aria had just declared war on the Lycan King. And Ronan was about to discover that the woman he rejected was no longer alone. By sunrise, the Lycan kingdom was already preparing for war. Aria stood at the enormous gates of Lucian's castle, staring at the kingdom beyond them. She had never seen anything like it. Massive stone towers rose above the mountains. Silver banners bearing ancient wolf symbols moved with the morning wind. Warriors lined the walls, watching her arrival with curiosity. Aria lowered her gaze. They are staring. They are trying to understand why their king brought a stranger home, Lucian said. Aria glanced at him. And what will you tell them? The truth. What truth? Lucian stopped walking. That you're under my protection. The words sent an unexpected warmth through her chest. After everything Ronan had done, hearing someone claim her safety so openly felt almost unreal. But as they entered the castle, the whispers became louder. Is that her? The rejected Luna? Why would the king bring her here? Look at her. Aria tried to ignore them. Then an older woman stepped into their path. Evelyn Frostwood. The royal healer looked directly at Aria's collarbone. Her expression changed. Where did you get that mark? Aria instinctively covered it. I don't know. Evelyn moved closer. Let me see. Lucian nodded. Aria reluctantly exposed the mark. The healer's face went pale. My king. What is it? Evelyn looked between them. Where did you find her? In the northern forest. When? Last night. Evelyn slowly stepped back. Then the prophecy has begun. Aria frowned. What prophecy? Lucian's expression hardened. Evelyn. But the healer shook her head. She deserves to know. She turned toward Aria. Centuries ago, there was a royal bloodline known as the Moonborn. They possessed power unlike any wolf bloodline before them. Aria listened carefully. They were feared by every kingdom because they could unite wolves who had spent generations fighting each other. Why did they disappear? They didn't. Aria's heart skipped. Evelyn pointed toward her mark. They were hunted. Aria stared at the glowing crescent. Because of this. Because of what it means. Lucian stepped forward. What does the prophecy say? Evelyn hesitated. That the final Moonborn heir would awaken only after experiencing the deepest rejection. Aria's face went still. Ronan. Evelyn nodded. The rejection was the trigger. Aria felt sick. So he caused this. No, Lucian said quietly. He unknowingly awakened it. Aria looked at him. And what happens now? Evelyn's expression became serious. Those who feared the Moonborn bloodline will come for you. A cold silence filled the room. Aria looked at Lucian. That's why they attacked us. Yes. Before anyone could say more, a warrior rushed into the room. My king. Lucian turned. What happened? A messenger has arrived from the Moonvale pack. Lucian's expression hardened. Bring him in. A frightened young warrior entered. He bowed. Alpha King Ronan requests an audience. Aria's heart tightened. Ronan. After everything, he wanted to see her. Lucian looked at Aria. You don't have to see him. She stared at the floor. Part of her wanted to refuse, but another part needed answers. I'll see him. Lucian's jaw tightened. Are you sure? Aria nodded. Yes. A few minutes later, Ronan entered the throne room. He looked different. The arrogance he had displayed the night before was gone. His steel-gray eyes immediately found Aria. He stopped. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then his gaze fell on the golden mark beneath her collarbone. His expression changed. What is that? Aria instinctively covered it. You don't get to ask me that. Ronan flinched. Aria. No. Her voice was stronger than it had been the night before. You made your choice. I know. You chose her. I know. You told me I wasn't worthy of standing beside you. Ronan looked down. I was wrong. Aria laughed bitterly. You're saying that now. I didn't know. Didn't know what? Ronan looked at Lucian, then back at Aria. I didn't know what you were. Aria frowned. What does that mean? Before Ronan could answer, Lucian stepped forward. You don't need to know. Ronan's eyes narrowed. This doesn't concern you. Lucian smiled coldly. Everything concerning her concerns me now. Ronan stared at him. Then something clicked. His expression changed. No. Lucian said nothing. Ronan looked at Aria. You're his mate. Aria froze. Ronan's face went pale. The realization hit him harder than any weapon. The woman he had rejected had become the fated mate of the Lycan King. Celestia's voice suddenly echoed from the doorway. That's impossible. Everyone turned. She stood there, staring at Aria. Her face was filled with disbelief. Then jealousy. Then fear. She can't be his mate. Lucian's eyes hardened. Careful. Celestia stepped backward. Ronan looked between them. For the first time, he understood the magnitude of his mistake. He hadn't simply rejected Aria. He had handed her to the most powerful man in the world. And now that man was looking at her like she was the only person in the room. Ronan's fists tightened. He hated the feeling rising inside him. Jealousy. Raw and uncontrollable. He had chosen Celestia. So why did seeing Aria beside Lucian hurt this much? Aria noticed his expression. But she no longer cared. She turned away. I have nothing else to say. Ronan stepped forward. Aria, wait. She stopped. He struggled to find the words. I want you to come home. Aria slowly turned around. Home? Yes. She looked at him for several seconds. Then she smiled sadly. You destroyed my home. Ronan's face fell. You broke my heart in front of everyone. Aria stepped closer. And now that another man wants me, you suddenly remember that you loved me. Ronan couldn't answer. Aria walked away. Lucian followed her. But before they reached the doors, Aria heard Celestia whisper. This isn't over. Aria turned. Celestia's violet eyes were filled with hatred. It has only begun. Aria didn't respond. She walked out with Lucian. But neither of them knew that Celestia had already made a secret decision. She wasn't going to lose Ronan. And she wasn't going to allow Aria to become queen. That night, while the castle slept, Celestia slipped into a hidden chamber beneath the Moonvale palace. A masked man was waiting. She handed him a piece of Aria's torn green fabric. I want her dead. The man looked at the fabric. And the Lycan King? Celestia's eyes hardened. If he protects her. She paused. Kill him too. The masked man smiled. Then prepare yourself. For what? He looked toward the dark sky. Because once the Moonborn Queen awakens completely. His smile disappeared. The kingdoms will burn. Aria woke before sunrise. For a few seconds, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered. Ronan. The rejection. The forest. Lucian. And the glowing mark beneath her collarbone. She sat up slowly and touched it. It was still there. But now it looked different. The golden crescent had become brighter. A soft warmth traveled through her body. Then she heard a voice. Not outside. Inside her mind. Aria. She froze. Who are you? Silence. Then the voice came again. You have been asleep for too long. Aria jumped out of bed. Show yourself. The door opened. Lucian walked in. He immediately noticed her frightened expression. What happened? I heard someone. Lucian approached carefully. Who? I don't know. Aria looked down at her hands. Something is happening to me. Lucian stared at the mark. It has awakened further. What does that mean? Your powers are growing. Aria shook her head. I don't want powers. I just want my old life back. Lucian's expression softened. Your old life is the one that almost destroyed you. Aria looked at him. Maybe. He stepped closer. But you don't have to become someone else because they hurt you. His words touched something inside her. Before she could answer, Evelyn entered. The council is waiting. Lucian frowned. They already know. They felt her awakening. Aria followed them into the council chamber. Several Lycan elders stood around a massive stone table. Their expressions were cold. One elder stepped forward. My king, this woman cannot remain here. Aria lowered her eyes. Lucian's voice hardened. She stays. She is dangerous. She is under my protection. That is precisely the problem. Another elder pointed toward Aria. The Moonborn bloodline caused wars before. Aria's chest tightened. I never asked for this. The room went silent. Lucian looked at her. She continued. I didn't ask to be rejected. I didn't ask for this mark. And I certainly didn't ask for anyone to fight over me. The elders exchanged glances. Then one finally spoke. That is exactly why you are dangerous. Aria looked confused. Because I don't want power. Because power doesn't care what you want. The doors suddenly burst open. A wounded warrior stumbled inside. Attack. Lucian immediately stood. Where? The eastern wall. Everyone rushed toward the balcony. Smoke rose in the distance. Flames were spreading across the outer fortress. Lucian turned to his warriors. Seal the gates. The kingdom erupted into chaos. Aria watched warriors race through the courtyard. Then she saw something terrifying. Black arrows were flying toward the castle. One struck the balcony. Another struck the stone wall. Lucian pulled Aria behind him. Stay here. No. He looked at her. I can help. You don't know how to control your power. Then teach me. Before Lucian could respond, an explosion shook the castle. Aria lost her balance. Lucian caught her. For a moment, they stood dangerously close. Aria looked into his amber eyes. Neither moved. Then Lucian whispered, Are you afraid? She shook her head. Not when I'm with you. Something changed in Lucian's expression. His wolf stirred. Protect her. He wanted to tell her what he felt. But another explosion interrupted them. The eastern gate collapsed. Masked warriors flooded into the kingdom. Lucian released Aria. Stay inside. He drew his sword. Aria watched him leave. For the first time, she realized something. She didn't want him to get hurt. Not because he was her king. Not because he was her mate. Because she was beginning to care about him. She ran toward the courtyard. Lucian was fighting 3 warriors at once. He moved with terrifying speed. But one attacker appeared behind him. Aria raised her hand instinctively. Golden energy exploded from her palm. The attacker flew backward. Lucian turned. Their eyes met. He didn't look angry. He looked stunned. Aria stared at her own hand. I think I'm getting better at this. Lucian almost smiled. Apparently. Then the castle bells began ringing. A messenger ran toward them. My king. Lucian turned. What? The northern army has arrived. Whose army? The messenger swallowed. The Moonvale pack. Aria's heart stopped. Ronan. Moments later, the gates opened. Ronan rode into the courtyard at the head of hundreds of warriors. He dismounted and immediately looked for Aria. When he saw her standing beside Lucian, something dark flashed through his eyes. Jealousy. But he quickly pushed it aside. We came to help. Lucian stared at him. I didn't ask for your help. Ronan looked toward the burning walls. You need it. Lucian stepped closer. Or did you come because you finally realized what you threw away? The warriors around them became silent. Ronan's jaw tightened. This isn't about you. Lucian's eyes narrowed. Everything involving Aria is about me now. Ronan looked at Aria. I came for her. Aria's heart tightened. You came too late. Ronan flinched. Before he could answer, an arrow flew toward Aria. Ronan moved first. He stepped in front of her. The arrow struck his shoulder. Aria gasped. Ronan. He dropped to one knee. Lucian immediately looked toward the rooftops. There. His warriors rushed after the attacker. Aria knelt beside Ronan. Blood soaked his coat. For a moment, she forgot everything. The rejection. The betrayal. The humiliation. She only saw the man who had once been her entire world. Ronan looked at her. I told you I'd protect you. Aria's eyes filled with tears. You should have remembered that before you rejected me. Ronan lowered his head. I know. Lucian watched them from several feet away. His jaw tightened. He knew Aria still had feelings for Ronan. And for the first time since discovering his mate, the Lycan King felt something he had spent his entire life avoiding. Jealousy. But before he could react, the wounded assassin was dragged into the courtyard. Lucian approached him. Who sent you? The man laughed through the blood on his lips. You think this is about the girl? Lucian's eyes narrowed. It's about the queen. Aria froze. The assassin looked directly at her. They are coming. Who? The man smiled. The ones who killed your ancestors. Aria's blood ran cold. Then the assassin whispered. And they are already inside your kingdom. Lucian's face changed. He turned toward the castle. Because at that exact moment, the royal palace doors opened, and a woman wearing a black cloak stepped into the throne room. She slowly removed her hood. Evelyn. But something was terribly wrong. Her eyes were glowing silver, and in her hand, she held a blood-covered dagger. Aria stared at Evelyn in disbelief. The woman who had comforted her only hours earlier was standing inside the throne room with a blood-covered dagger. Lucian immediately drew his sword. Evelyn. The healer didn't move. Her silver-glowing eyes remained fixed on Aria. Aria's voice trembled. Why are you holding that? Evelyn slowly looked at the dagger, then at Aria. I was hoping you would never have to see this side of me. Lucian stepped between them. Drop the weapon. Evelyn smiled sadly. I can't. Why? Because I've been waiting 27 years for this night. Aria's heart pounded. What does that mean? Evelyn raised her hand. The doors slammed shut. A powerful wave of energy swept through the room. Lucian staggered. Aria fell against the wall. Evelyn. The healer's appearance began to change. The silver streaks in her hair turned completely white. Her eyes became luminous silver. Ancient markings appeared across her hands. Lucian stared at her. You're Moonborn. Evelyn nodded. The last surviving guardian. Aria's eyes widened. You knew my family. I knew your mother. Aria froze. My mother? Evelyn slowly lowered the dagger. Your mother wasn't an ordinary woman, Aria. Tears filled Aria's eyes. Then who was she? Your mother was the last Moonborn queen. Silence. Aria couldn't breathe. That's impossible. She escaped when the bloodline was hunted. Why didn't she tell me? Because she knew they would eventually find you. Aria shook her head. Who are they? Evelyn looked toward Lucian. The Crimson Order. Lucian's expression hardened. An ancient organization believed to have disappeared centuries ago. They've been searching for the Moonborn heir ever since your mother's death. Aria stepped backward. So Ronan's rejection was the trigger. Evelyn nodded. The moment he rejected you publicly, your bloodline awakened. Aria looked down at her glowing mark. But why now? Because your power could no longer remain dormant. Lucian stepped closer. What happens next? Evelyn's expression became grim. The awakening has already been detected. By whom? The Crimson Order. Suddenly, a massive explosion shook the castle. The windows shattered. Aria screamed. Lucian grabbed her and pulled her close. Another explosion followed. Warriors shouted outside. Evelyn looked toward the windows. They are here. Lucian immediately turned to his guards. Protect the queen. Aria looked at him. I'm not a queen. Lucian stared into her eyes. You are. The words struck her harder than she expected. No one had ever looked at her that way. Ronan had called her unsuitable. The pack had called her weak. But Lucian didn't look at her like she was broken. He looked at her like she was something precious. Suddenly, an arrow smashed through the window. Lucian pulled Aria down. The arrow struck the wall behind them. A black symbol was carved into its shaft. Evelyn recognized it. The Crimson Order. Lucian's eyes hardened. Seal the palace. Warriors rushed through the corridors. Aria heard screams outside. She wanted to run, but something inside her told her to stay. Then her mark began glowing again. She closed her eyes. The sound of hundreds of heartbeats filled her mind. Every warrior, every wolf, every person inside the castle. She could feel them. She could even sense their fear. Then she heard something else. A voice. They are beneath you. Aria opened her eyes. Lucian. He turned. What? They are not attacking from outside. Evelyn's eyes widened. What did you say? They are already inside. Lucian immediately looked toward the floor. Where? Aria pointed downward. Beneath the throne room. Lucian didn't hesitate. Move. They rushed downstairs. At the bottom of the staircase, they discovered a hidden stone door. Lucian pushed it open. A secret passage stretched beneath the castle. Torches flickered along the walls. Footprints covered the dusty floor. Someone had been there recently. Aria suddenly stopped. I can feel them. Lucian looked at her. How many? She closed her eyes. 7. Evelyn whispered. 7 assassins. Lucian drew his sword. Stay behind me. They moved deeper into the passage. Then 7 masked warriors emerged from the darkness. The battle began immediately. Lucian fought like a storm. Evelyn unleashed waves of silver energy. Aria tried to control the power inside her. One assassin broke through. He raised his blade. Aria's eyes flashed gold. The walls shook. The warrior froze in midair. Aria lifted her hand. He was thrown across the passage. Everyone stopped. Aria stared at her hands. Her power was growing. Too quickly. Lucian approached her. Aria. She looked terrified. I don't know how to stop it. Lucian took her hand. Then we'll learn together. Their eyes met. For a moment, the battle disappeared. Then a voice echoed from the darkness. How touching. Everyone turned. A man stepped forward. He wore a black cloak marked with the symbol of the Crimson Order. His face was hidden beneath a silver mask. Evelyn's expression changed. No. Lucian raised his sword. Who are you? The man removed his mask. Aria's breath caught. She knew that face. She had seen him once before, in an old portrait inside her mother's room. The man standing before them was supposed to have died 20 years ago. Her father's closest friend. Her family's protector. The man who had helped her mother escape. Aria whispered, Uncle Soellen. The man smiled. Hello, little Moonborn. Aria couldn't move. You're alive. Very much alive. Evelyn stepped forward. You betrayed her mother. Soellen's smile disappeared. I didn't betray her. He looked at Aria. I protected her. Then why are you here? Soellen's eyes shifted toward Lucian. Because the prophecy was wrong. Lucian's grip tightened. What prophecy? Soellen smiled. The Moonborn Queen isn't destined to unite the kingdoms. He looked directly at Aria. She's destined to destroy them. Aria shook her head. No. Soellen stepped closer. And the only person capable of stopping her. His eyes moved toward Lucian. Is the man she has just bonded with. Lucian's expression hardened. Soellen raised his hand. The passage began shaking. Stone cracked beneath their feet. Evelyn screamed. Lucian, get Aria out. But it was too late. The floor beneath Aria suddenly collapsed. She fell into darkness. Aria. Lucian jumped after her. And as the darkness swallowed them both, Soellen smiled. Because the trap had worked. Aria fell through darkness. She expected to hit the ground. Instead, strong arms caught her. Lucian. He landed hard beneath her, protecting her from the impact. Are you hurt? Aria shook her head. I don't think so. Lucian looked around. They were inside an ancient underground chamber. Stone walls surrounded them, covered with symbols Aria had never seen before. Then the chamber suddenly illuminated. Golden symbols appeared across the walls. Aria stepped closer. I've seen that symbol. She touched one of the markings. A vision exploded inside her mind. A woman with the same hazel-green eyes stood in a massive throne room. Aria recognized her immediately. Her mother. She watched helplessly as soldiers surrounded the woman. A man stood beside her. Soellen. But he was younger. Her mother handed him a small child. Aria. Then she heard her mother's voice. Promise me you'll protect her. Soellen nodded. I swear. The vision changed. Her mother looked terrified. If they discover what she is, they'll kill her. The vision disappeared. Aria stumbled backward. Tears filled her eyes. My mother knew. Lucian moved toward her. What did you see? She knew what I was. Lucian gently touched her shoulder. Then we'll find out why she kept it from you. A loud sound echoed through the chamber. They turned. The stone door had sealed itself. Aria's breathing quickened. We're trapped. Lucian examined the walls. There has to be another way out. Aria noticed a strange symbol glowing beneath her feet. She stepped toward it. The entire chamber reacted. Golden light spread across the floor. A massive stone door opened. Behind it was another chamber. In the center stood an ancient throne. But it wasn't empty. A silver crown rested on it. Aria stared. That's your mother's, Lucian whispered. Aria slowly approached. She reached for the crown. The moment her fingers touched it, the entire chamber shook. A voice echoed around them. The bloodline has returned. Aria dropped the crown. What was that? Lucian stepped closer. I heard it too. Then another voice came. The queen must choose. Aria looked around. Choose what? 2 doors opened. One glowed with golden light. The other was completely black. Lucian looked at her. Don't move. A figure appeared between the doors. An ancient woman wearing a silver crown. Her face looked remarkably similar to Aria's. The Moonborn Queen must choose between power and love.
Aria's voice trembled. Who are you?
I am your ancestor.
Lucian stepped forward.
What happens if she chooses power? She becomes the strongest ruler this world has ever known. And love.
The ancient queen looked at Lucian. She remains powerful. But
her greatest weakness becomes the person she loves.
Aria looked at Lucian. Neither spoke. Then the vision disappeared. The chamber returned to darkness. Lucian turned toward her.
Don't let an ancient prophecy decide your life.
Aria nodded.
I won't.
A faint smile appeared on his face. Then suddenly, he grabbed her hand. Come. They found another passage leading upward.
But before they could reach the exit, they heard voices. Search every chamber.
Aria froze. They found us. Lucian pulled her behind a stone pillar. Several masked warriors entered.
The same symbol of the Crimson Order covered their armor.
One whispered,
"The Queen is nearby."
Lucian looked at Aria. He silently pointed toward another passage. They moved carefully, but one warrior turned. Who's there? Lucian attacked. The corridor erupted into chaos. Aria's power awakened again. Golden energy blasted through the chamber. The warriors were thrown backward. Lucian stared at her.
You've learned quickly.
Aria smiled nervously.
I think I'm getting used to it.
They reached the surface, but instead of finding the castle,
they emerged on a mountain overlooking the kingdom.
The entire valley was burning. Aria covered her mouth.
What happened?
Lucian's face hardened.
The Crimson Order attacked while we were underground.
Hundreds of warriors were fighting below. Then Aria saw something else. A large army was approaching from the western valley. Lucian's eyes narrowed.
That's impossible.
Who is it? He didn't answer. Aria looked closer. A familiar royal banner appeared above the army. Black and rust red. Ronan's army. Aria's heart sank.
Why is he here?
Lucian stared at the approaching army. I don't know. Then a messenger raced up the mountain.
My king.
Lucian turned. What? The messenger was bleeding.
The Alpha King has declared war.
Aria's eyes widened.
Ronan declared war on you.
The messenger shook his head.
Not on the Lycan Kingdom.
He looked at Aria.
On the Crimson Order.
Aria was stunned. Ronan had come to fight the people hunting her. Lucian remained silent. Then another messenger arrived.
My king, there's more.
What?
The Crimson Order has captured someone.
Who? The messenger looked at Aria.
Celestia Ravencourt.
Aria's blood ran cold. Lucian's expression darkened. The enemy had taken Ronan's chosen Luna, and they were going to use her as bait. Aria looked toward the burning kingdom.
Lucian.
He looked at her.
We have to save her.
Lucian shook his head.
She tried to have you killed.
I know.
Then why?
Aria looked at him.
Because I won't become like them.
Lucian stared at her. For the first time, he understood the kind of woman his mate truly was. She wasn't powerful because of her bloodline. She was powerful because she still had compassion after everything they had done to her. Lucian nodded.
Then we'll save her.
They began descending toward the battlefield.
But high above them, hidden among the mountains, Soellen watched.
He wasn't worried.
Because Celestia wasn't the real bait.
Aria was. And Soellen had already prepared the final trap.
Because the moment Aria entered the Crimson Order's fortress to rescue the woman who had tried to destroy her, she would discover the devastating truth about who her father really was. The Crimson Order's fortress stood beyond the burning valley, carved directly into the side of a black mountain. Aria, Lucian, and a small group of Lycan warriors approached under the cover of darkness. The closer they came, the quieter everything became.
No guards. No torches. No movement. Lucian stopped.
This is too easy.
Aria looked at the fortress.
They want us to enter.
Exactly.
Then why are we still going?
Lucian looked at her.
Because you're not leaving Celestia behind.
Aria nodded. They entered through the enormous iron doors.
Inside, the fortress was strangely silent.
Then the doors slammed shut behind them. Aria turned.
Lucian.
I know.
Torches suddenly ignited along the walls. Hundreds of masked warriors appeared on the balconies above them. A slow clap echoed through the hall.
Soellen stepped forward.
You came.
Lucian raised his sword.
Release Celestia.
Soellen laughed.
You still don't understand.
His eyes moved to Aria.
None of this was about Celestia.
Aria's stomach tightened.
Then what do you want? You. Lucian stepped in front of her. You'll have to go through me.
Soellen smiled. I expected that. He raised his hand. The floor beneath Aria suddenly lit up. Golden symbols surrounded her. She tried to move. She couldn't.
Lucian.
He grabbed her hand. A violent force threw him across the room.
Lucian.
He crashed against a stone pillar. Aria screamed. Soellen walked toward her.
Your mother was powerful.
Aria struggled against the energy. Don't talk about her.
She believed she could hide you forever. Why did you betray her?
Soellen's expression changed.
I didn't.
He stopped in front of Aria.
Your mother asked me to protect you. Then why did you disappear?
Because your father ordered me to. Aria froze. My father? Soellen nodded.
You were told he died before you could remember him.
Aria's breathing stopped.
What are you saying?
Soellen looked at her. Your father is alive. The world seemed to stop. Aria stared at him. No.
He has been watching you for years.
Who is he? Soellen smiled.
You already know his name.
Aria's blood ran cold. Before she could speak, a familiar voice came from the shadows.
That's enough, Soellen.
A man stepped into the torchlight. Aria's heart nearly stopped. She knew that face. The silver-gray eyes. The dark hair. The commanding presence.
It was the man who had once visited her childhood home. The man she remembered as a distant family friend.
But now he stood wearing the black armor of the Crimson Order. Aria whispered, Father. The man looked at her.
His expression was unreadable. Hello, Aria.
She could barely breathe. You've been alive all this time.
Yes. Why did you leave us?
His eyes hardened.
Because your mother chose weakness.
Aria shook her head. No. She chose you over the bloodline. What's wrong with that?
Everything.
He stepped closer.
You were born to rule.
I don't want to rule.
You don't get to choose.
Aria's golden mark began glowing. Her father smiled.
Now you're finally awakening.
Lucian rose slowly from the floor. His eyes were burning amber.
Stay away from her.
Aria's father looked at him.
The Lycan King.
Lucian tightened his grip on his sword. You know who I am.
I know exactly who you are.
He smiled.
And I know exactly what happens when your bond with my daughter becomes complete.
Lucian's expression changed.
What do you mean?
Aria's father looked at them both.
Her power will flow through you.
He paused.
And when that happens, you will become the strongest Lycan alive.
Soellen stepped forward.
Which is why they must never complete the bond.
Lucian's eyes narrowed.
What are you planning?
Aria's father looked at his daughter.
I am going to make her choose.
A door opened behind him. Celestia was dragged into the room. She was bruised but alive. Ronan suddenly appeared behind the guards. His face was filled with fury.
Let her go.
Aria looked at him.
Ronan.
He stared at her, then at Lucian, then at her father.
I followed them here.
Her father smiled. Good.
Ronan raised his sword.
I won't let you hurt her. Aria's father laughed.
You still think you can save her?
Ronan looked at Aria.
I know I failed her once.
His voice cracked.
But I won't fail her again.
Aria stared at him. For the first time, she saw genuine regret in his eyes.
But before she could respond, Celestia screamed.
A blade was pressed against her throat. Soellen looked at Aria.
Choose.
Aria's eyes widened.
Choose what? Your former life.
He pointed toward Ronan.
Or your new one.
He pointed toward Lucian. Aria looked between the two men. Ronan stood wounded but determined. Lucian stood ready to die for her. Then her father spoke.
If you choose the Lycan King, Celestia dies.
Aria froze.
And if I choose Ronan? Lucian dies.
Silence filled the fortress. Lucian looked at Aria.
Don't choose me.
Ronan looked at him. For once, there was no jealousy in his eyes. Only understanding. Don't let them use you. Aria's tears fell. She looked at both men. Then at Celestia. And suddenly, the golden mark on her chest began burning brighter than ever. The entire fortress shook. Soellen's smile disappeared. What is happening? Aria slowly lifted her head. Her eyes were no longer hazel green. They were glowing silver gold. Her voice changed. I choose. She looked directly at her father. Myself. The entire fortress exploded with golden light. Every masked warrior was thrown backward. The chains around Celestia shattered. Lucian shielded Aria. Ronan grabbed Celestia. And Aria's father stared at his daughter in horror. Because he finally understood. The prophecy had never said the moonborn queen would choose power or love. It had said something far more dangerous. The true queen would refuse to be controlled by either. Aria's power surged through the fortress. Then she looked at Lucian. Her eyes softened. And in that moment, Lucian realized something terrifying. Her awakening wasn't complete. It had only just begun. The golden light slowly faded. The fortress was almost completely destroyed. Stone pillars had collapsed. Flames burned along the walls. Aria stood in the center of the ruined hall, breathing heavily. She looked at her hands. What did I just do? Lucian walked toward her. You saved everyone. Aria shook her head. I could have killed everyone. But you didn't. She looked into his eyes. I was so angry. Lucian gently took her hand. Your anger didn't control you. He paused. You controlled it. Aria stared at him. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of the power inside her. Then a groan came from across the room. Ronan. He had been thrown against a stone pillar when the fortress exploded. Aria immediately ran toward him. Ronan. He opened his eyes. I'm fine. You could have died. He gave her a faint smile. Apparently, I'm harder to kill than I thought. Aria helped him sit up. Celestia stood several feet away, staring at them. Her face was filled with guilt. Aria. Aria turned. Celestia lowered her head. I was wrong. Aria said nothing. I hated you because Ronan chose you first. Aria looked at her. But he didn't choose me. Celestia's eyes filled with tears. He should have. Aria didn't know what to say. Celestia continued. I thought taking your place would make me happy. She looked around at the destruction. But all it gave me was fear. Aria's expression softened. You don't have to be my friend. Celestia nodded. I know. But you don't have to hate me either. Celestia wiped her tears. I don't. A sudden roar shook the fortress. Everyone turned. A huge crack appeared across the floor. Lucian immediately pulled Aria behind him. Everyone move. The floor exploded. A massive black wolf emerged from beneath the ruins. It was enormous. Much larger than Vargan. Its eyes glowed crimson. Ronan reached for his sword. What is that? Lucian stared at the creature. I don't know. The wolf growled. Aria's golden mark suddenly responded. It began glowing. The beast stopped. It stared directly at her. Aria felt a strange connection. She could hear its thoughts. Daughter. Aria froze. She whispered. Who are you? The creature lowered its head. Then it transformed. The enormous wolf became a man. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and covered in scars. His long black hair fell across his shoulders. His crimson eyes remained fixed on Aria. Everyone stepped backward. Aria stared at him. You're... The man smiled. Your father. Ronan's eyes widened. Celestia covered her mouth. Lucian's hand tightened around his sword. Aria couldn't move. Her father walked toward her. I've waited 22 years to meet you. Aria's voice trembled. You said I was born to rule. Yes. Then why did you abandon me? His expression hardened. Because your mother hid you from me. She was protecting me. She was keeping you weak. Aria shook her head. You don't know her. I knew her better than anyone. He stepped closer. Your mother loved you. His voice softened. But she feared what you would become. Aria's eyes filled with tears. Why? Because the moment your powers awakened completely, you would become something no kingdom could control. Lucian stepped beside her. She doesn't belong to anyone. Aria's father looked at him. That's where you're wrong. Lucian's eyes narrowed. Explain. Her father pointed toward Aria. She is not simply the moonborn queen. The room fell silent. She is the first true heir of the original Lycan bloodline. Lucian froze. His father had once told him that bloodline had vanished centuries ago. Impossible. Aria looked at Lucian. What does that mean? Her father answered.
It means your bond with her is not a normal fated mate bond.
Lucian's expression changed.
What are you saying? The Moonborn and Lycan bloodlines were once one.
He looked between Aria and Lucian.
And when the two halves reunite, the fortress began shaking again. Cracks spread across the walls.
Aria's mark burned. Lucian's eyes flashed silver. Her father smiled.
The ancient throne awakens. Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed across the mountains. Far beyond the fortress, something ancient had awakened beneath the earth. Every wolf in the valley dropped to its knees. Aria felt the presence calling to her.
Not through her ears. Through her blood. Lucian grabbed her hand.
Aria. She looked at him. I can feel it. Feel what?
She looked toward the mountains.
A throne.
Then the ground split open.
And beneath the fortress, an enormous ancient crown began rising from the darkness. The ancient crown rose from beneath the earth.
It wasn't made of gold or silver.
It looked as though it had been carved from black stone, with glowing golden veins running through it.
Aria stared at it.
Why is it calling me?
Her father answered quietly.
Because it has been waiting for you.
Lucian stepped closer to the crown.
What is it? The first crown.
Aria looked at him.
The crown of the original Lycan ruler.
Lucian's expression changed.
My ancestors.
Her father nodded.
Before the kingdoms were divided, there was one ruler.
He looked at Aria.
Your ancestor.
Then he looked at Lucian. And yours. Aria stared at the crown.
Then why was the kingdom divided?
Her father hesitated.
Because of betrayal. Suddenly, Evelyn appeared from the ruins.
She was wounded, but still standing.
There is something you haven't told her.
Aria turned. What? Evelyn looked at her father.
The first crown doesn't simply give power.
Her father remained silent.
It demands a sacrifice.
Aria's blood ran cold.
What kind of sacrifice?
Evelyn looked at Lucian.
The person the queen loves most.
Aria immediately looked at Lucian. No.
Lucian stepped toward her. Don't listen to it. But what if it's true? Then we'll find another way.
Her father shook his head.
There is no other way.
Lucian turned toward him.
You've been manipulating her from the beginning. I've been preparing her.
For what?
For the throne.
Aria suddenly stepped between them.
Enough.
The ground shook. Everyone went silent. Aria looked at her father. You don't get to decide my future. Then she looked at Lucian.
And neither do you.
Lucian nodded. She turned toward the ancient crown.
I'll decide.
She slowly walked toward it. Lucian followed. Aria stopped.
You can't come with me. Why? If the prophecy requires someone I love.
Lucian understood.
She was afraid the crown would take him.
He stepped closer.
I would rather face it with you than watch you face it alone. Aria's eyes filled with tears. You barely know me.
Lucian smiled.
I know enough.
He took her hand.
I know that you were hurt and still chose compassion. I know that you were rejected and still refused to become cruel. And I know that every time you think about running away, you look back to make sure everyone else is safe.
Aria's tears fell.
Lucian gently wiped one away. That's the woman I chose.
Aria whispered.
You chose me? I chose you before I understood the prophecy.
Their bond suddenly erupted with light. The ancient crown responded.
A massive wave of energy spread across the mountains.
Every wolf in the kingdom howled. Then the crown lifted from its pedestal. It floated toward Aria. Her father watched in disbelief.
She's accepting it. The crown stopped inches above Aria's head.
Then a voice echoed across the valley. Choose. Aria closed her eyes. Images appeared around her. Ronan. The pack. Her mother. Her childhood.
Her rejection.
Lucian.
The future.
War. Peace. Power. Love.
Everything she had ever wanted. Everything she had ever feared.
Then she saw something unexpected.
Her mother standing in a field beneath the moon.
Aria reached toward her. Mama. Her mother's voice whispered. You were never born to rule them. Aria opened her eyes.
Then why was I born?
The answer came softly. To free them. The crown suddenly shattered. Everyone gasped.
Her father fell to his knees. No. Golden light exploded across the valley. The ancient walls began disappearing. Chains engraved into the stone broke apart. The magical barriers separating the kingdoms collapsed.
Aria stood at the center of it all.
The moonborn mark on her chest transformed into a brilliant golden wolf.
Lucian stared at her. She had become something beyond the prophecy. She hadn't chosen the throne. She had destroyed it. Her father looked at her with horror.
You've broken the ancient order.
Aria looked at him.
Maybe it deserved to be broken. Suddenly, a horn sounded from the valley. Then another. Then hundreds.
Lucian looked toward the horizon.
Armies were approaching from every direction.
Moonvale,
The Lycan Kingdom,
the Crimson Order, and kingdoms that hadn't appeared in centuries.
the ancient magic had awakened them all.
Lucian looked at Aria.
They are coming for you.
Aria looked across the valley.
Then let them come.
Her voice was calm. For the first time, she wasn't the rejected woman who had run into the forest crying. She wasn't Ronan's discarded Luna.
She wasn't even simply Lucian's fated mate.
She was Aria Moonvale, and she had finally discovered who she was.
But among the approaching armies stood one person Aria never expected to see.
Ronan. He wasn't carrying a sword. He wasn't wearing his crown. He was walking alone.
And when he reached the edge of the battlefield, he dropped to one knee before Aria.
Lucian looked at him cautiously. Ronan lifted his head.
I came to ask you for forgiveness.
Aria stared at him, but before she could answer,
a terrifying howl shook the entire valley. Everyone turned toward the mountains.
Something enormous was moving beneath the clouds. Something that even Aria's father feared. He whispered,
The first Lycan.
Aria looked at him.
What is that?
Her father's face had gone pale.
The creature that destroyed the original kingdom.
The mountains split open.
Two enormous silver eyes appeared in the darkness.
And a voice older than the kingdoms themselves echoed across the valley.
My bloodline has returned.
Lucian stepped beside Aria. His sword came free.
Aria's golden eyes began to glow. The creature emerged, and the entire kingdom fell silent.
The entire valley fell silent.
The first Lycan stood before Aria, its enormous silver eyes fixed on her. Behind her, thousands of wolves remained on their knees.
Ronan had lowered his sword.
Lucian stood beside Aria, his hand firmly holding hers.
Aria looked at the ancient creature.
Why did you bring me here?
The first Lycan's voice echoed through the mountains. I did not bring you here. Your choices did. Aria looked toward the shattered crown. She finally understood. The crown had never been her destiny. It had only been a test.
She had spent her entire life believing she needed someone to choose her.
Ronan had rejected her. The pack had abandoned her. But Lucian had shown her something different.
She didn't need to be chosen to have value. She needed to choose herself.
Aria slowly turned toward Ronan.
He stood several feet away, his face filled with regret.
I was cruel to you, he said. Aria said nothing.
I thought being alpha meant I had to choose someone who made my kingdom stronger.
He lowered his head.
But I forgot that love isn't a political decision.
Aria's eyes softened.
You hurt me, Ronan.
I know.
You made me believe I wasn't enough.
His voice cracked.
And I will regret that for the rest of my life.
Aria took a breath.
But I forgive you.
Ronan looked up.
You do?
Yes. She smiled faintly.
But forgiveness doesn't mean I want you back.
Ronan's eyes filled with tears.
I understand. And for the first time, Aria felt completely free.
She no longer needed an apology. She no longer needed Ronan to regret losing her. She had already found what she needed. She turned toward Lucian. He was watching her quietly. Aria smiled.
You came for me when I had nothing.
Lucian stepped closer.
I would come for you again. You didn't know who I was. I didn't need to. Aria's eyes filled with tears. You still want me.
Lucian gently touched her face.
Not because you're the Moonborn Queen.
He looked directly into her eyes.
Not because you're my fated mate.
He paused.
I want you because you are Aria.
Her tears finally fell. She leaned into his hand.
I choose you.
Lucian smiled.
And I choose you.
Their bond erupted with golden and silver light. The entire valley shook. But this time, Aria wasn't afraid. She felt peace. The first Lycan watched them.
Then the ancient creature slowly lowered its head. The prophecy is complete.
Aria looked up.
What happens now? Nothing.
She frowned.
Nothing? You have already done what generations before you failed to do.
The creature looked toward the armies.
You ended the cycle. The Crimson Order warriors began lowering their weapons.
Their leader looked around helplessly. No. He tried to raise his blade, but Aria lifted her hand.
Golden light surrounded him.
His weapon fell. The remaining warriors surrendered. The war was over.
Not because Aria destroyed her enemies,
but because she refused to become what they feared.
The ancient first Lycan began disappearing into silver light.
Before it vanished, it looked at Aria one final time.
Never forget this. Power does not make a queen. The courage to choose love over vengeance does.
Then it disappeared. Silence returned to the valley. Aria looked around.
The kingdoms that had once feared the Moonborn bloodline were now standing together.
The old divisions were gone, and the throne that had once represented control was broken forever.
Weeks later, the Lycan kingdom had changed. The Crimson Order had been dismantled. The ancient laws separating the wolf kingdoms were abolished. Ronan returned to his kingdom, no longer the arrogant Alpha King who had rejected Aria.
He became a wiser ruler.
Celestia left the palace and chose to rebuild her life away from the politics that had poisoned her heart.
And Aria? She never returned to the woman she had been.
She stood beside Lucian on the highest balcony of the Lycan Palace, watching the sunrise.
Lucian wrapped his arms around her.
Do you ever think about that night?
Aria smiled.
The night Ronan rejected me.
Yes.
She looked at the horizon. Sometimes. Do you regret it? Aria turned toward him.
No. Lucian raised an eyebrow.
Not even a little.
She shook her head.
If he hadn't broken my heart.
She smiled.
I might never have found you. Lucian pulled her closer. Then perhaps I should thank him.
Aria laughed.
Don't make me regret forgiving him.
They laughed together. Then Lucian reached into his coat. He pulled out something small. Aria's eyes widened. Her mother's bronze pendant. The chain had been repaired. She took it with trembling hands. You found it?
I had it restored.
Aria held it against her chest.
For years, she had believed the broken pendant represented everything she had lost.
Now she realized something. It represented everything she had survived. Lucian gently helped her put it around her neck. You don't need a crown, he whispered. Aria looked at him. I know.
You don't need a kingdom.
I know.
You don't even need me.
She smiled.
That one isn't entirely true.
Lucian laughed. Aria rested her head against his chest.
I spent so long waiting for someone to choose me.
She looked into his eyes. Now I understand. What?
The greatest love story isn't about someone finally choosing you.
She smiled.
It's about finally choosing yourself.
Lucian kissed her forehead.
And beneath the morning sun, the woman who had once walked away from her own rejection in tears finally understood something beautiful. The Alpha King had broken her heart. But that heartbreak had led her to the man who taught her how to love again. Not because she was a queen. Not because she was a prophecy. But simply because she was Aria. And sometimes, the worst heartbreak of your life isn't the end of your story. Sometimes, it's the beginning of the love story you were always meant to have. If Aria's journey touched you, subscribe for more emotional Alpha and Luna stories. And tell me in the comments, would you have forgiven Ronan? Or would you have walked away forever?